All right, folks, we continue in chapter 12. A very short class, actually, today. In this chapter, we're speaking about the Beinoni, the intermediate individual who is between the tzaddik and rasha, between the righteous and what we call wicked. And as we've defined very clearly, righteous is something eons beyond what we can imagine in our own lives, at least in the present time. And even in the future, I would suggest. And the rasha is the individual who's got stains of things that have done wrong and constantly regretting them and trying to fix, but never quite fixing it. And the stain is still there. That's the incomplete rasha. But we're speaking about the Beinoni. So we spoke at the Beinoni has the capability in their prayers that they are so engaged in the meditation and the awareness of God. God is creator, God within creation, God beyond creation. Such an awareness, it brings to such a love and awe of God that the urges of the heart during prayer are quite dormant. So much so that you might even think tzaddik, but not. Why? Because after the prayers are finished, the urges of the heart return, and that's why this person is not a righteous individual, is because it does return, not deemed the tzaddik, because they only have ultimately dominion over the garments of self-expression of the soul, which is our actions, speech, and thought specifically cogitated, meditated thought. Not the original thought that comes in, we don't have control over. And that's it, but not on the core of the soul, not on the emotions of the soul, the intelligence of the soul. The Beinoni doesn't have. So we explained yesterday. So then what happens after prayer, where God's presence is so real and undisputed, so to speak, the godly soul having dominion over the individual as opposed to the animal soul? What happens after davening? How does the person maintain and continue? So the Alter Rebbe explained yesterday, the chiddush, the novelty of as moyach shalat al halev, the mind has dominion over the heart. The mind has such a power to it that it can actually, if you so will it and want it, that the mind can do the exact opposite of what the heart desires. So you may have urges in the heart that are not unto God, yet with our mind we can compel otherwise and do what God wants of us. And especially, and that's every human being has that, but especially if it's connected to Kedusha, to holiness, to serve God and to do what God needs from us, to do a mitzvah instead. So the Alter Rebbe continues with this idea over here that after prayer, where no longer that love of God is burning in the individual in a revealed place in their heart. So the fact that they have the capability of using the mind over the heart is a natural way that God created all of us, that we can accomplish that. But particularly when it comes from a holy place, in other words, in the service of God. And even if it's not the service of God, we have that capability of that the mind can rule over the heart. But all the more so when it comes from this holy place in the service of God. So since it continues in the service of God, so the love, even though the fire burning love isn't there as it was during prayers, but a love does remain. And what kind of love? Something we're going to elaborate a lot more on when we come to chapter 18 through 25, but it's called Ava Mesuteres, a hidden love. The hidden love, the meditated love isn't there. A meditated love is that you concentrate and focus on God to such a degree that it brings you to a fiery, burning desire to connect. But that can't last. It's like a passionate love can't last in human relations, right? So then there's a fallback. What's a fallback? The inherent love. that there is in the soul. That's not born out of meditation. It's not born out of an awareness. It's born out of the fact that it's there in our soul, in our heart. That natural hidden love, and the Beinoni after prayers is able to still utilize that form of love, and that form of love is that I want to be attached to God and not to be disconnected. I'm passionate. It's just about an awareness of I am connected, and I don't want to be disconnected, which we're going to speak more about in next following chapters. And this is revealed, and therefore, when the cravings of the animal soul come back, and the person is, as our sages say, there are three things that a person sins every day. One is the thought of sin itself. That itself is a sin. Concentration in prayer, that we don't concentrate in prayer. Our mind goes adrift. And slanderous gossip. Even the Beinoni is capable of having those urges of the heart. Well, does have the urges of the heart that will come to the mind. So in other words, the Beinoni will have that, thinking negative about another person, will have the thought of that the mind will go adrift, can go adrift, and thoughts of sin, and yet will not allow it to be cogitated, to be meditated, to be, willfully think any of those sins. Why? Because the hidden love that's in the soul gives the person the wherewithal that I want to be connected and not disconnected from God. And therefore, then when those cravings do enter the mind, right, the Beinoni doesn't in fact transgress in actual action or speech, or even, again, cogitated, meditated, willful thinking. And therefore, it doesn't make the person a tzaddik, and doesn't make them a rasha. They're not righteous, because the urge does come, the cravings of the heart that for self-directed desires do come back after prayers, and not a rasha, and not a wicked person, because in actual behavior, the Beinoni stays strong. So what the Alter Rebbe, it's a very short class, and we finished it, added today, is that the meditated love that creates a burning desire to connect to God sort of evaporates after prayer to such a degree that it's as if the Beinoni didn't pray, because now the cravings of the heart come back, and all the challenges of life re-enter into the heart of the Beinoni. But there is a love that is still there, and it's that hidden love, which again we'll learn a lot about starting chapter 18. And that hidden love allows that you can access his mind, to use his mind over his heart in the service of God, and therefore that those cravings that are self-directed will not be able to be actualized in any of the garments of self-expression, of action, speech, or thought. That's it for today. Short. I don't know if short but sweet is the right comment, but but powerful. Shaheen, good morning to you in New York. Catherine from Orange Beach, Alabama. Shalom. Linda from New York, good morning. Golda from Massachusetts, thank you for joining. Yeah, from Mexico, good morning. Anna is with us from Norway, good afternoon. Alice from Baltimore. Benjamin in Indonesia. Shalom. All right. Rachel, Boker Tov. Russia. Oh, I'm sure I got that wrong. from Rehovot, in Israel. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't pronounce that right, I'm sure. George from Bucharest, good morning. Susanna, good morning. And Rachel. Elise. All right, thank you for sharing. Ian, good morning. Jean from Alabama. Opleka. I don't know if I pronounce that right. All right. From Rotterdam, Hannah, I think. Andrew from New Jersey, welcome. And Paul from San Antonio, Texas. Good morning. Richard from Indianapolis. And on Instagram, who do we have joining us? From Brazil. From Amsterdam, Shalom, Chaya, Sarah. All right. Folks, sharing is caring. Please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Tzich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya have a